The NCAA said no to Colorado and Syracuse, but should they at least try to do it anyway? What can the NCAA do? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets win your first $5 bet wins. We're also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so that way you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. Today, we're talking about the Colorado Buffaloes, the Syracuse Orange. Should the spring game happen anyway, even though the NCAA ruled against it? And I'm bringing in a very special guest to help me discuss the matter in Locked On College Football, Spencer McLaughlin. Spencer, we have a interesting debacle in our hands, because Deion Sanders, Fran Brown, they have a revolutionary idea, and the NCAA said, it's a little late notice. Students might miss class, even though there's a whole NCAA basketball tournament going on right now where I don't think people are in class. Could be wrong. And then they also said it gives an unfair advantage. And so I saw those reasons and I was like, okay, it's NCAA. That makes sense for them because obviously they're going to ruin anything that's good for the sport. But Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State head coach, great mullet, not really a great guy as of late, it seems. It feels like he's very unpopular. He had a good take, surprisingly, because he said that he wanted to do Oklahoma State spring game against Oklahoma to sort of bring back the Bedlam rivalry. And today he was talking about their decision, the NCAA that is, and he says, I'm not sure that they have the grounds to say you can't do it. Like if somebody just goes and does it, what are they going to do to them? End quote. So what do you mean? What do you take of that? Or what do you mean? Or what do you think he means by that? Because honestly, from my perspective, Deion Sanders should just be like, you know what, Syracuse, fly out here. We'll help you cover the difference or whatever it is. And we'll make it happen. Because what is the NCAA going to do?
Yeah, so a few thoughts in there. First of all, what you said about Mike Gundy, not being popular, I think is only true if you're against drunk driving, it seems, or lightly buzzed driving. So that's point number one. Point number two, anytime the NCAA says, well, what about students missing class? My eyes roll up to the clouds because holy smokes, who cares? You're gonna find a way to make it work. We're about to have a spring transfer portal window. You're telling me the timing on this is so horrible and bad. Thousands of kids maybe are about to go, at least hundreds are going to go in the portal and change schools, and magically we're going to make it work. So I hate that excuse. With that said, I will be entering the transfer portal. I'm kidding. Okay, so the the phrase "with that said" is just forever burned like that. But so the question Mike Gundy poses is a really good one. What would they do? What are they going to do? Now, do you want to dance with the NCAA for Deion Sanders? Maybe not, because you look at what's going on in Michigan right now, and they're still in kind of wait and see mode about whether they're going to get sanctions and the whole Connor Stallions thing. So the NCAA, weak as though they may be, and anytime they show up, it seems like it's to deliver bad news in college football. I don't think they're entirely off base here. Now, the reason I say that, as someone who's criticized the organization a lot, because I think they have plenty of criticism that's worthy of drawing, I think that saying it's too last minute, I do actually think is fair, because this game, between Colorado and Syracuse, if it gets played, if it ever happens one day, I've made the point before, it's great for college football, it's great for fans, good for players, good for coaches. There are a lot of benefits there. I don't really know who doesn't benefit from it. So if it's a benefit, the NCAA saying, hey, doing it at the last minute when other people didn't have the opportunity to do so, when they already had their spring game scheduled, that's an unfair advantage. Like, okay, I get where you guys are coming from. The other side of that coin, though, I think is pretty easily argued, because you say, well, wait a minute. If it was Deion and Fran Brown's idea, why are we punishing them for having a revolutionary idea? Shouldn't they be rewarded for it? And I do hear that particular argument. So I don't think the NCAA is crazy, because the NCAA didn't say you can't do this ever. They didn't say, no, we're never going to allow. They said, no, you can't do it this year. right? It's too soon, it's too short a notice. But to Mike Gundy's point, what would they do? They're going to
Yeah.
vacate wins because they played a spring game scrimmage against Syracuse? Like, what exactly is going to happen there? I think Gundy's idea on making Bedlam the spring game actually is a bad one. I love the spring game, cross pollination idea. I think it's awesome. I think it'd be great. I would love to cover that. I like regular spring games. I would love these versions, even if it was just a 7-on-7 scrimmage to protect players from injury and whatnot. I'd be totally good with all of that. But making it a rivalry game as your spring, no, now you're in dangerous territory. I think that's where schools should put their foot down and say, no, this is not a good idea. But for everything else, I like it.
Yeah, I think the rivalry aspect is a little too dicey for me because you don't want a random game on April 20th getting really intense and all of a
No,
sudden your star quarterback
not even a
like,
game.
right, breaks an ankle. It's like we don't need that. But for Colorado and Syracuse, there's no prior relationship, there's no beef. It's just two programs wanting to come together to do something. And you brought up the Michigan Connor Stallion scandal, and I think that's a great sort of point because what will the NCAA do? They're not going to vacate Michigan of their title, right? We know that's not going to happen unless they all of a
I
sudden
mean,
grow a
they've done it,
pair.
but they've done it before. I mean, they've done it before.
Not in this like
They took
modern
Reggie
era.
Bush's. Yeah, I mean, they took Reggie Bush's Heisman away. They gave it back recently, which is nice, but uh,
Yeah,
it's not as if they haven't done. I'm pretty sure there have been vacated national titles, but it's like, okay,
it's
I
a
watched it
rarity.
happen, guys.
Yeah, like I don't think they do it. And for Colorado and even Syracuse as well, I think you take that chance because the NCAA, every time they come out and do something, they're immediately sued by like thousands of people, right? They're sued by athletes who weren't able to be paid. They're sued by Diego Pavia, who was as a junior college quarterback at one point, and all of a sudden it's the NCAA's fault he couldn't benefit off his NIL because he was at a JUCO, right? So they get sued left and right. So I think you try it, see what happens, and then the Mike Gundy point of like who's in charge. He had a quote later that said he doesn't really know who's in charge, and so until it's like a clear governing issue, like why would he listen? Like, here's the quote: "I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to waste my time on who's going to determine what the rules are anymore because essentially there are not really enough of them to follow, and I'm not sure they have the grounds to say you can't do it. Like if somebody just goes and does it, what are they going to do to them, right?" So he's literally saying the NCAA is in charge. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Okay, like air quotes in charge, but like, do we care, right? So I think if you're Colorado, you see what happens. You possibly take a fine, like you just say, hey, we're willing to do this if we pay X amount of dollars because it's going to generate revenue, right? It's already on ESPN2. Syracuse offered to fly out. Like the NCAA, the only thing that can go wrong for them is this would be like a colossal bird to the organization and like no program would ever listen to them again. But I think if you're Colorado and Syracuse, I feel like that's a risk you take.
Well, the risk reward calculation might not be worth it for this year
Mhm.
because the Colorado spring game is going to be well attended, whether it's Buffs on Buffs or Buffs on Orange, right? It's going to be on ESPN2 either way, right? So
Right.
the primary benefits you're getting from having a good spring game, something I want to protect in college football and keep around, I think the primary benefits are already there. And I mean, the risk that I think could come down is, what if recruiting sanctions or violations get levied because you defied a direct order from the NCAA to not do this? I think we should applaud Deion Sanders for the idea and to Fran Brown as well for saying, hey, let's make this happen. I think it would be awesome. I think the short notice, I think there's more downside, frankly, to Colorado bucking the NCAA and saying, screw you, than upside. And I think that you can just stay within the structure of what they would like you to do and say, okay, you know what? We didn't do it this year. Can we put it on the books for next year? Let's schedule this right now. Let's talk to television execs right now about what they would be willing to pay if it was team on team. You know, imagine scrolling through for people that still have cable, coming across ESPN, spring scrimmage, Colorado versus Syracuse. Are you kidding me? That's way juicier. But it is a benefit to Colorado and Syracuse, and they should be rewarded for having the idea. If you have that opinion, I get it. I just understand in this instance where the NCAA is coming from of saying, hey, can we make sure we do this the right way and maybe allow this opportunity to expand in a healthy manner across the sport rather than just rolling it out like we did with NIL and the portal and not creating any rules, guidelines, or restrictions on it. That hasn't gone particularly well. It's not good. They're trying to change it. I don't know if they're going to because they don't appear to be, able to, screw legs onto the underside of a chair. So
Yeah.
I get where they're coming from. I just look at it, say, I don't know that a potential like that's what pops in my head as a potential punishment from the NCAA is like, yeah, recruiting violation. Is that worth it? Is it like I don't know. That's Deion's call.
It's a fair question. Honestly, you make a lot of really good points, and I like the NIL transfer portal point. It's like the NCAA is like, you know what, we're gonna nail this one because this one's easy, right? We understand what we're doing here. We're gonna say no.
Yeah.
At the same time, part of me is just like do it and see what happens, but obviously you don't want to mess yourself up for the future. That being said, Spencer, will torpedo bats make an appearance at the college football level? No, I'm just kidding. Final question before I let you go. Over or under 2 years before this happens, right? Is it going to happen next year or is it going to be under? Okay.
Under. I think if this doesn't happen this year, I think the energy will stay to do it next year. And I mean, happens just means happens one time. I don't think Deion threw this out just to create off-season content and buzz talking about the Buffs. Because it wasn't like it was at the top of his mind. It sounded like a thought he'd been pondering for a while that he just expressed publicly for the first time. And then Fran Brown just kind of said, yeah, let's do it. And I mean, I think that all seemed, maybe they're just really good actors, but it seemed natural and organic to me enough to where they, are legitimately thinking, hey, this could be good for our programs, which it could be.
Yeah.
And once you have a year to think about it, plan it, roll it out the right way, figure out which team should go where, I think you could have something really, really good.
Appreciate it, Spencer. This is Locked On Buffs. He's locked on college football. Go check him out if you ever want to talk about or listen about the latest on all things college football. Spencer, thank you for hopping in the car and joining the show. We will see you next time.
Yeah.
This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, shopping online, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. They have an all-in-one convenience aspect where instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check in on your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. The monarchmoney.com code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. Let me tell you about Game Time, right? If you need tickets, Game Time's the place to do it. Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd, and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game in person. Getting tickets shouldn't be this stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to find a better value for tickets to sports, comedy, concerts, whatever it is, theater near you, because they got all the tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Let's talk about it. The NFL draft is a few weeks away, April 20, I think it's 4th, right? Where we kind of will learn about the fate of Shedeur Sanders. April 24th is the first round, Thursday, April 24th, that is, and it goes through Saturday, April 26th. Shedeur Sanders has widely been viewed as a top 5 pick, but now things are kind of playing out in a way where we don't always know if that's the case. Now, here's what I'll tell you before I dive in. Just because the current top 5 teams don't really need a quarterback or there aren't a possible landing spot for Shedeur doesn't mean someone won't trade up. So let's keep that in mind. But according to a report by ESPN's Adam Schefter, he doesn't think, or he has been told, I guess it's not his opinion, the current feeling is that neither the Browns or the Giants will select a quarterback or 2 or 3, which means they're probably going Travis Hunter. So Travis Hunter could be going 2nd overall or 3rd overall. And that means Shedeur Sanders could slide a little bit. Now, the Las Vegas Raiders are at 6. I don't know if they take a quarterback considering they're trying to get Geno long-term in Vegas, but maybe they trade back, maybe they make a move, or maybe a team trades into the first round at the end of the round for Shedeur Sanders. That being said, I think there's a lot of people who are shocked by this development, and I'm here to tell you it's not that shocking, right? You look at where these teams are at, and you kind of just have to accept that maybe he's not a fit, right? The Titans are probably going to go Cam Ward. The Browns, I saw a report today that there's sort of this notion that the Browns may just throw away the 2025 season, right? Deshaun Watson out for the year, or probably out for the year with a ruptured Achilles. They owe him a lot of money because obviously they gave him $230 million guaranteed, and he's only played like 19 games and has been an absolute bust for them after they made a huge trade for him. So maybe they just sign a guy like Joe Flacco or whoever, like some random quarterback off the street, and say, hey, we want you to start for us for this year. Or they take like quarterback like Quinn Ewers, Tyler Shuck in the 3rd or 4th round, whatever it is. And they just go, hey, we kind of like you. We'll see what you could do. And the consensus or sort of the vibe is that the Browns may be kicking it on this year so they could get in on the Arch Manning sweepstakes next year. That's at least what the Athletic is reporting. That being said, there's no guarantee that Arch is going to declare he can return to college. So risky move there by the Browns. The Giants, I've been talking about this for the past few days now. They don't make sense for Shedeur Sanders anymore. I know he's kind of linked himself to it. I know there's been a lot of buzz about him going to the Giants, but let's just be realistic. Let's put on our thinking caps as I fix my hair. Rough hair day for me today. I don't know why. We put on our thinking caps, and the Giants signed Russ. I was told by someone close to the Giants insider, because they were talking to me about Shedeur to the Giants, and they're like, yeah, Russ wanted a multi-year deal, wanted tens of millions. I think it was the number they told me was like 35 to 40 million per year for the Giants. And the Giants were like, no, the best we could do is 1 year. And they had already signed Jameis too, right? They signed Jameis, I think, in a little bit of a scare tactic to Russ to be like, hey, we don't need you. But they got both of them. And Russell Wilson, I think, is toxic. I think he only cares about himself and his career. So does he want to mentor Shedeur Sanders? Probably not. Right? Does Russell Wilson probably want to share the locker room with Jameis Winston? Probably not, right? Russell Wilson is corny. He's phony. He's a guy who has been known to sort of put himself on a pedestal, whatever, above other people. And him being in that locker room, I think he's already going to have a hard time, because regardless of him winning the job or not, I think the team will like Jameis better. And so as soon as Russ starts struggling, the clamors for Jameis will be getting loud. And Jameis is a guy who I think captivates the locker room in a different way than Shedeur would. So I just don't think the Giants are a fit for Shedeur. The Browns, even though they have a really good coach, some continuity with our GM as well, the Browns are the Browns, right? There's a reason that they're picking 2nd overall. They have terrible luck with quarterbacks, right? There's that iconic jacket where it's like all the Browns quarterbacks' names, everyone from Trent Dilfer to Connor Shaw, whatever it is. Like, they have so many quarterbacks that have come and went, came and gone, Colt McCoy, whatever. I just don't like the Browns for Shedeur. Like, I'm iffy on them. He would play right away probably, but is that the proper situation for him? I don't know. So then the Pats, the Jags, they don't need Shedeur. The Raiders, I don't see why they would add him at 6 when they just got Geno. So the Jets at 7 seem like the next best opportunity for him. And then I like him to the Saints, but the Saints have a top 10 pick. Do they take a quarterback when you could probably add a nice piece? I don't know. So then I'm just like, okay, who else needs a quarterback? So it's not the 49ers, not the Cowboys, not the Dolphins. The Colts, I mean, they do need a quarterback, but they have Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, which I think they're going to punt on this year and just be like, may the least mid guy win. the Cardinals don't need a quarterback. The Falcons don't need a quarterback. Bengals, Seahawks. I mean, the Seahawks kind of, maybe, right? And then it's the Steelers. So there's really not a lot of teams that are in need of a quarterback that could end up making a move for Shedeur. Maybe the Rams, right, if they want to draft Stafford's replacement. That being said, it's okay, right? Shedeur doesn't have to go in the top 5. I think Shedeur's and his father and his camp's best hopes are that he goes to a team that values him, a team that trusts him to make the right decisions, a team that has a plan for his development. So even if he doesn't go top 5, that doesn't really mean anything. It's just those teams weren't fits. And if anyone's okay with that, it's probably Shedeur Sanders. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the Colorado Buffaloes' new transfer portal target, because guess what? I told you guys they needed some help at wide receiver, and they may get it. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers an expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. The Colorado Buffaloes. I have said this a handful of times, and people get upset. And I'm not trying to say they don't have talent at wide receiver. They have a ton of talent. They also have a lot of young talent. They need a veteran. It's the same thing they did last year, right? They had young talent, but they brought in LeJounte. They brought in Will Shepard. They brought in a bunch of other guys to sort of bolster this room, right? I'm very high on Isaiah Harch. I thought he should have been a part of the offense. I thought he should have played running back, honestly. After that spring game, I was like, get this guy at running back. Let's see what he could do there. I still think that Quentin Gibson, whoever it is, JoJo Williams, Amarion Miller, Draylon Miller, I think they have a lot of talent in that room. That being said, they don't have a lot of experience. And so the Buffs are going out in the portal, and they're set to host former USF and Campbell wide receiver Sincere Brown. Big dude, 6'5", and he's proven, right? These are the programs coming after him. West Virginia, Michigan, North Carolina, Utah, Louisville, Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Wake. He's got his visit scheduled for Cal, UCLA, and he's going to be at Colorado spring game, where I think they had the last visit as well. So pretty big deal there, because I love having the last visit, because you're the last thing in his head, in their minds, right? So this past year for the Camels, he had 61 catches, 1,228 yards, 12 touchdown catches, right? Big dude. He hauled in 8 contested catches, 8.6 yards after the catch, and he averaged nearly 17 yards per reception, 85 yards per game, right? The Colorado Buffaloes, I think, have a great chance of getting him. I think it's a must. And if you're Caden Salter or Juju Lewis, whoever is starting a quarterback, it doesn't hurt to have a big-bodied guy where you could just be like, hey, Sincere's down there somewhere, right? So I think the Colorado Buffaloes have a legitimate shot, a really great shot, actually, at bringing him in, right? They made quite a few spring additions last year. I know Nikaiho Green was one of them, where you don't expect there to be a lot of talent in the spring window, but that doesn't mean you can't find some hidden gems. So I think he could be a hidden gem for the Colorado Buffaloes, because you're coming off a year where you had one of the best wide receiver quartets in college football. You had Travis, LeJounte, Jimmy, who was banged up, Will Shepard, or Marion Miller, who kind of subbed in there, here and there. You lost 4 of those guys to the NFL. So that's a lot of talent to make up. That's a lot of talent to sort of replenish with. And although, I know they have talented guys, you don't have a lot of experience, right? Even Joseph Williams, who's the most proven guy on the team, he was the American Freshman of the Year or Rookie of the Year, whatever they call it, this past year. He's a true sophomore, right? He's your most experienced receiver and most proven. He's a true sophomore. So the Colorado Buffaloes, I don't think it hurts to go add some more talent. 6'5", veteran presence. Maybe he could blow up and bolster his draft stock. So really like what Deion Sanders and the Buffs are doing in the portal. We always know Coach Prime's going to cook something up in the portal. So we'll just have to wait and see. And I'll keep you guys covered every step of the way over here on Locked On Buffs. Thank you for making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and I will see you guys tomorrow.